To Coffee and Channeling. I'm Sasha Angelina. I'm the executive director of nonprofit Marigold's Boise, where we provide affordable access to spiritual development, meditation, and personal transformation. And here at Marigold's Boise, I channel messages from your higher self, my higher self, multidimensional beings. Been doing this quite a while. And I love to go back and revisit channeled messages. So I'm going to share a channeled message with you that I hope can help you, because we're going through such a time of darkness, I guess you could say. You look out in the world and there's a lot of horrible, sad things happening. People are really struggling with getting up every day and just dealing with life. And people have been coming in for private channelings and group channelings and asking the same thing. Why am I feeling this? Why am I going through this? And so we had a group channeling where Sophia came through. Sophia, she's basically God, but in the feminine, as you would imagine God, the feminine aspect. She is all things. She is the void, she is the light, she is creation, she is birth, she is death. The first time Sophia came through, all my energy centers, my chakras opened, and for about a month, I had some really intense experiences and was getting a lot of downloads and messages about creation and creation energy. And when your chakras or your primary energy centers are closed, which for most people, at least some of them are, you are blocking off creation energy, especially your lower chakra or energy center, which I see closed off in a lot of people. I realized I had it very closed off because when it's open, the energy just flows very intensely and beautifully through your body. But then you can use this energy for many types of things. It's creation energy. Anyways, that's a side note of the first experience I had with Sophia. She's never come through a group channeling, only through a couple private channelings. And one of the people at the channeling asked, why am I going through this dark time? As I have heard many people ask. And if you are feeling like you are going through a dark time, hopefully this message will help you. And I'm going to break down the message because the language that comes out and the concepts that are discussed when I channel, you can come back and re-listen to them and reread them, and you get a new insight based on the own inner work that you're doing. So I'll try to break it down as best I can. So Sophia said her answer was, the goddess unfolds. She does not reach. She is all worlds, the underworld, the reality, and the divine world. So the dark, the light, the physical. This reality is remembering both. But in this existence now, collectively, you all will walk through the underworld, the shadow, the darkness, the things that have been hidden. This collective desires to evolve through this experience. It's not a test. It's not a pain that you are required. It's simply an experience. The experience through this collective humanity and planet wants to rise, but it cannot rise until it remembers what has been hidden in the shadow, in the dark, in the underworld. You'll hear this topic of goddesses and gods of the underworld coming into the consciousness and the awareness of a greater collective, because it calls to them these resonances of these beings to remember and to awaken the true history that is held in your DNA and in your field. You have the ability now to remember things. They will be painful. As you understand, your multidimensional being has had and is having experiences that affect you here, now, affect this planet, now. So you must remember the true history of this system, of this planet, and of your being. This is happening on a worldwide collective level. So let me break this down for a bit. If you haven't attended all our channelings, some of these concepts may seem confusing. So what has been coming through all these beings is that there's a shift on the planet now, collectively, for all humans and the planet. And this shift is that what we have suppressed, what we've kept in our unconscious psyche, will start to rise. So that doesn't feel good. There's a reason we suppress our traumas, our triggers, and we need now to really look at them and allow them to become conscious. The reason they're called unconscious or in the shadow or in the underworld or in the dark is because we've hidden them away so that we can function, we can survive. But we're really not surviving. We're imbalanced, we're sick, we're unhealthy, we're sad, we're on medication. Now it's time to allow these unconscious things to come into consciousness on a personal level, but also a collective level. So the messages have said that our history of our planet and humanity has been suppressed. And there's a lot of things that we don't know or don't understand about our history in humanity, but that every one of us has the ability to remember. It's encoded in our DNA, the information of our ancestors and the history of the planet. And also, our entire being is information. So is our field. We're like a big database, and we have access to that database. Historically, we did not, but now there are openings for us to be able to access all kinds of information. So you're going to hear different people starting to have memories of other lives or other experiences or just knowings of, I know this is coming, I know something is going to happen, using language that is very different because it's energetic. We are reading the energetic field and information that is all around us and holds the history. So she's talking about how also there are gods and goddesses of the underworld, and not just the underworld, but she mentions them here, that more people will begin to connect with them or talk about them. You'll hear about them more in the collective. So in previous channelings, the way gods and goddesses have been described is two different ways. Some gods, goddesses, and masters were created by our own belief systems, our own consciousness. They were born of our stories, if you will, and they carry certain energies and they have an existence, right? Others were actual beings who have also a certain energy, ancient beings who have come into this planet before, and then stories were created about them. So a lot of ancient energies, or what we call here resonances, came in to birth this planet, some of them being in what is called shadow and some being in light, since we are a planet of duality, but that is changing. So the shadow is now rising to be known and understood. And I get the sense duality in itself will change, but right now the understanding is that what is unconscious will become conscious. So we will no longer operate on triggers or traumas or things that are hidden in our awareness. We will operate in a very conscious way where everything is in our understanding and knowing, at least about ourselves. So we will operate very differently. She says that we have the ability now to remember things. So the energy is shifting on our planet where we did not really have the ability to remember the history or a multidimensional being or a higher self or past lives or connect with multidimensional beings. Some people did, but for the majority of us, we did not. So the energies are shifting so that we now can access these things. The way it came through a private channeling recently, and I simply saw it, was that we have this field of information. And within that field, there was a barrier. And I believe this is what people are talking about when they talk about the veil. The veil is lifting, if you've ever heard that. That was one of the first messages that came through for me personally when I had my spiritual awakening. So this veil was placed for whatever reason around our field and our being. So we didn't really have access my understanding would be that happens so we can experience this 3D reality in its fullness. So I don't necessarily feel like it's a malevolent thing. It just was to create an experience. And now that veil is lifting, so we have more access to each other's field. That veil kept us from really understanding each other intuitively. And we are accessing the energies and the consciousness of the planet, of each other, of different dimensions. Now that veil is being removed. My higher self, or an aspect of my higher self who calls herself Indira, brought us a message recently where she said to focus or learn or meditate in the MEbA. I don't know much about the MEbA. We've been learning as we've talked about it after that channeling. And I've also been meditating a bit on the MEbA. She said within our field, there is geometry there that is deactivated. So I've known this for a while, that our field carries certain, almost looking at a tapestry where you see pictures. So in our field, we have pictures that hold certain energies. But she's saying there is geometry in our field that's not activated, like the MEbA, and there are others that are not activated. So she guided us to begin to first focus in the MEbA. And when I've meditated within the MEbA, it's almost like each triangle, when activated, does something. And each one needs to be activated, is my feeling as I've meditated with it. I've just been working on being present with it so it can provide information into my awareness. And that's as far as I've gotten with the MEbA. So if you have information on that, feel free to share it. Let's continue with her message, with Sophia's message, because that's not all that she said. She said, many of you have agreed to be here to process these old memories and energies. Many of you have even brought in the resonance of this shadow, this remembering, this truth. As this occurs in this reality, then together you begin to rise and remember who you really are. You can heal things that you didn't even know have been there in the collective. This is really important to understand. So there are different resonances that we've learned about: light and shadow, light being form and shadow being what is hidden. And only in rereading this did I think of other channelings we've received where they talked about shadow and what is hidden there, and that some of us are bringing in this shadow resonance, these shadow resonances. They're multiple resonances. So what resonance means, if you haven't watched other videos or meditated in a resonance, it means that consciousness or a soul can be born from anything. So a laughter, stillness, joy, inertia, gravity, birth. There are so many ways that an energy can become aware of itself. It says, I am. Oh, I am. I am this energy, this resonance, but I am also now aware of my individual being, and begins a path. But that resonance, that consciousness or awareness was born from, always remains with the soul, and is something we can work with, is my understanding from the channelings. So some people have shadow, which simply means formless, more like a force. You could think of it, if you have a shadow resonance, it's more like a force, inertia, gravitation, things like this. Maybe an element like the energy behind fire or water or whatever it may be. And then you have light resonance, which is birthed from form, or an energy that requires form, like laughter requires a form to laugh. So she says, many have even brought in the resonance of this shadow. And personally, when I tune into that, what I feel that means is many of us existed in times where things occurred within our history of this planet or of our solar system. And we have a remembrance in our soul of the true history. And that true history was suppressed or put in shadow, because I myself have had memories, especially during channelings, where I've cried because the memory was so intense of things that have occurred within our solar system and other systems that we were never taught because they happened a long time ago. But it's still this ancient pain, right? This ancient suffering of things that have occurred. And there's something about us understanding our true history that we begin to integrate these ancient soul pains, if you will, or soul suffering, soul experiences. And so some people are being born in a physical form, I believe, to bring in those memories or the resonance, the holding in their soul of those experiences so that we can all remember. And sometimes that can feel really heavy if you are having those memories or you hold those memories in your field. The other thing she says that I thought was really interesting is that many of us have agreed to be here to process these old memories and energies. So sometimes we, in our physical form, come here and through our field, for whatever reason, you can meditate on this one, through our field, we are able to process certain energies that are just out in the collective so that the collective can awaken and remember and access all the things that I'm talking about. So that we need support and we need help, right? Just like in our physical form, somebody needs support, help. There are certain people who can go out and have a certain wisdom or a teaching or an understanding and be able to help certain people through whatever they're going through. We do that energetically as well. Some people are able to process certain energies or hold certain energies so that the rest of us can step into this new way of being and not feel so burdened by these energies of suppression. So if you want to simplify it, you can think of it like we are at a time where we have been suppressing. That's been our collective experience. Through the suppression, we suffered and were basically enslaved because we didn't know ourselves and we didn't know certain information. We were just responding. We were just, what would you call it? We were just responding, but not in a conscious way. Just, I have to do this and I'm going to respond this way because it triggered me. So now we have the ability to respond consciously and choose how we act in life, how we respond to things. So she also says you can see the cycles here. Now is the cycle of transformation in the 8. So the 8 is something that has come through a few times as a cycle. One, if you think of an 8, one side being birth cycle, where it comes together, being transformation, and then a death cycle. And she says, now is a cycle of transformation in the 8, one side of the 8 being birth, one side being death, and the center being transformation. You are all in transformation. You yourself are processing many of these energies as you work within yourself to release the emotion or the trauma or the anger, the shadow, the remembering. It helps the collective on a whole. Some of you can carry more in your field, process more, and others process less. It just simply is the balance, the way things are. And so many of you agree to process more because your soul is having experiences that allow this to occur. If you meditate within the sacred geometry, the MEbA, and the flower of life, and the others that are known, you can begin to understand how to transmute and transform these energies, your body itself being a vessel to speak to you. So listen, every emotion has a message, every thought a message, everything being simply energy and an experience, but you've agreed to collectively experience. You are united as one. You just forgot. So all of you will experience these dark feelings, dark times, but in a remembrance. So again, she talks about activating the sacred geometry, and something that if you really listen to this message, because it's been coming through a lot, and you see the importance of your emotions and your thoughts. So often, historically, when you have anger or sadness, you're going through a hard time, even annoyance, we tend to think, oh, these are bad feelings. I'm going to suppress them. I'm going to put them on a shelf. I shouldn't be feeling this. I can't express this. But what she's saying is every emotion, every thought has a message. We just need to remember how to allow these emotions in, reflect on them, embrace them, and ask it, what is the message here? And it will always share some wisdom or insight or memory or way to integrate or teach you something. So rather than suppressing, it actually makes these emotions very valuable and these memories and experiences, these thoughts very valuable so that you can stop looking at them as negative or bad or needing to be suppressed and start actually encouraging your emotion. Come through and share a message with me so I can learn, I can grow, I can process, I can integrate, and I can remember. And that is the whole point at this time, for us to begin remembering the true history of the planet, of our being, our multidimensional being, our connection to the planet. We are the planet. We are not separate from it. We are 100% just like the trees and the water. And this is something we really need to dive into and deeply understand and begin to live in the planet as if we are part of it and it's not just serving us. So I hope that this message with Sophia helps you understand a little more in yourself. If you want to hear the whole message or watch the channeling, you can download the Marigolds Boise app in your app store, and you get access to all the channelings we've recorded, as well as sound baths and meditations and all kinds of things. And then if you like, once you join, you're able to join our group channelings through live stream, or if you're in person in Boise, you can also join us. And it's a great way to be able to ask your own questions, but also receive the resonance, the energy. It's very vibrant. It can be very healing. It can be transformative when we're able to be in these energies of the channeling and these other beings and resonance. So I encourage you to join us. It's $44 a month. And it also supports our nonprofit so we can get out into the community and help others in various ways through meditation or just loving support and authentic community, taking our resonance, our love, our energy out into the world. The $44 is not tax deductible, but if you wanted, you could make a tax deductible donation on our website. But your membership definitely helps us grow and do more of this work with others. So thank you. Tune in again next week and we'll go through another channeling and break it down, giving you all the love and support that you need as we go through this time together on this planet. Thank you.